Hello everyone, welcome back to another session of Women in STEM, Heroes Among Us, an international online symposium organized by STEM community IUB. I'm Tanfia and I'll be the host for tonight's session. Before I begin today's session, I'd like to thank our sponsors, Invent Technologies and Raj Laptop Gallery, and our community partners, IEEE IUB Student Branch and their affinity group, Women in Engineering, Community of Biotechnology, Exome ID, and the Learning Hub. Today we have with us our panel speaker, Bushra Anjum and Johanna Nyström. I honestly thank both of you for taking their time to be here with us. We're really glad to have you on board as a session speaker in the symposium. Before I start, I'd like to introduce our speakers. Firstly, we have Bushra Anjum. She is the co-founder at Shapla Wellbeing and Wizkit, and also our very own IUB alumni from Bangladesh. Lastly, but not the least, we have Johanna Nyström. She is a STEM educator and coordinator at Vetenskapshuset Markaryd Science Museum in Sweden. I again thank both of you for joining us in tonight's session. Now, to begin our session with our amazing panel speakers, I'd like to pass the floor to Salman Promon, sir. Sir, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Tanfia, for this nice introduction. And also, I would like to thank all of our guests here, Johanna and Bushra. It's really great to see all of you in time. And it's really great also because you took your time from your busy schedule. Now, there are a lot of things going on with you. I know some of you are working with the young kids specifically, and also some of the community level science works, and inspiring many of us, and not only the children, but also young adults, everyone, which we can say the science enthusiast. Now, I have a couple of questions, or maybe not, because this is a panel discussion, because we will start going, and maybe our pattern will find its own way, right? So now I would like to ask Johanna, you are pretty young for community education, or if we think from our perspective in Asian, because many of our children, they have certain thoughts about science education and certain timeline, but we know that education has no limit or time or age. It can be start, even the science, it should start from even earlier, is possible, right? And not only as a student, but also as a teacher, if you are learning things and if you are trying to teach them, maybe you will learn more. So from that perspective, I would like to ask you, what's your motivation? And can you tell us about your work and link that with your motivation?
Yes, of course. And thank you so much for having me. First of all, because I'm very honored to be here, and thank you so much. I'm working at Vetenskapshuset in Markaryd, Sweden. The name in English is the Science House. So actually, we are having school classes all around the southern Sweden, but also the western Småland, where I am. We are teaching them about STEM education, and also we have two exhibitions. We have one energy imbalance, and we also have the Nobel Prize Museum. So my motivation to still work with this, I'm young. I'm 20 years old, and when I get to see the happiness and the interest in the young people's faces when they see that, oh, I understand, and oh, I know this, and when they build things, or when they understand the things behind it, I think that's my motivation. And also here at the Science House, we are taking in students from 5-year-old, but also adults. So we have different people coming in here to learn about the exhibitions, but also taking a part of the school programs we have.
Yeah, excellent. I mean, this is some of the things we'd like to hear, and I would like to ask Bushra, Can you tell us a little bit about your work? Because Johanna here, she has been doing a lot of things even earlier at this kind of age and motivating many people. So I know Bushra has been like working on different aspects of the society, especially with STEM. So can you tell us a little bit about your work and how things are, contributing to the society?
Right. Firstly, thank you so much, Promon, for having me today. I feel like it's a very special moment where I get to come back and talk with everyone from my department as an alumna. And yeah, it's great to be here. So that's done. And secondly, I'll just give a small intro of what I do. I'm the co-founder of Wizkit. And in very plain terms, what we do at Wizkit right now is that we make STEM experiment kits for children aged 4 and above. And I'm also the co-founder of Shapla Wellbeing. Shapla Wellbeing is a menstrual hygiene ecosystem in Bangladesh. And what we are trying to do through that is create a network of women who have very easy and, just very easy access to menstrual hygiene solutions, for example, sanitary pads, etc. And we're doing that through setting up vending machines within institutions where there are women from the low-income areas. So that's basically the two things that I'm up to right now. And yeah, I'm also currently at the moment, I've just started my master's. I'm doing it on tissue engineering, and I'm working on the disease endometriosis. For those of who don't know what the disease is, it's basically when your uterine tissue tears up and goes to different parts of your body and creates a very difficult scenario for young menstruating women. And yeah, basically, I'm trying to create and I'm trying to establish a endometrial model using stem cells and just trying to identify the mutated versions of the disease, and also from the patients versus normal people, and also trying to identify some cancer biomarkers, because endometriosis is a precursor for ovarian cancer and a few other diseases as well. So I'm sorry, it was a very very long intro, but yeah, I've got my plates full.
It's always nice to hear about the science behind any reason to work on, because sometimes when the society, like policymakers, everyone is like doing for the people and everything, but think about this: if you want to help a particular person or particular group or even the society or even a country, sometimes you have to go to the technical people, right? Because end of the day, when you are using the app or the medication and everything, basically the technical people, they're making it. So doesn't matter if you're going out and showing yourself, the scientists or the technical people who are manufacturing it or working their mind on it, actually they're some of our unspoken heroes, right? So that's also very important. Now I would like to go to Johanna, because I have one question, that is, STEM skills and education can be utilized for real life, because just right now, Bushra was talking about some of the technologies she's working on. So from that point of view, if this STEM skills and education can be utilized for real life problem solution, in positively, I should say. So how do you think it can impact the community by teaching people science from an early age, expose them what can be done? Like, of course, a little child, they can know what they should learn or which way they should make their career in academics. It can be science, it can be arts, it doesn't matter. But if we talk about science and STEM, so what's your point here, that should we start extensive science in a level of understanding with the small child, or maybe we should wait for appropriate time? Do you think there's an appropriate time for that, Johanna?
Well, actually, I think that the weight of understanding what's going on in the world makes people more interested in STEM, and also for them to work against it. Can I say like that? I want to show you something because I'm actually in the Nobel Prize Museum, and I want to show you, oops, this part. Oh, right there. This is the plastic production in the world for the 1950s, 1960s, and here at the right, it is 2010. The red thing was, or is, the things that's just thrown away, and the black one is the plastic that just burns, and the green one is actually the ones that's recycled. And when you see that, it gives you a kind of perspective to make you want to work and study things and make things about it, to make things better for the planet. And just like you are studying about the endometriosis, which is so important. And when you do that in an earlier age, you get to wake up the interest. So I don't think it's really a specific age or if it's females or males. I just think that it's important to give them the interest in the STEM education in an early ages.
Right. That was very insightful answer. So I will just jump to Bushra again and ask you kind of the same questions. What's your point? Like early stage STEM education or skill-based STEM education could be really, really positively impactful for real life problem solution, because since you have been working on the academic side, I mean the research part, and also some of the community level works, right? What's the rule? How can you translate that research for community and for real life problem solution?
Right. So I'm just going to drag a little bit of Joanna's bit, because I think it's very, very important that she said the thing that she said about STEM being not, I mean, it being induced into the learning system at any age, and especially during the early age. Because before I go on with the real answer of how it can be actually implemented within the communities, I think that was your question, like how we can actually practice it in everyday life. I just want to give a bit of context as to why STEM education is so important and STEM itself is so important. Because one of the reasons and one of the ways how we basically founded Wizkit, actually this was one of the reasons that happened in IUB as well, and I was at the lab. And my friends are going to absolutely hate me for this. I'm not going to name anyone. But when I was at the lab, I saw a lot of people in just literally writing down memorized answers. And I thought that was very, very problematic, because you are at the lab, you are at the center of everything STEM. Why do you need to write down memorized answers? So that's where basically the thought process generated from, and I think that's where a little bit of your answer lies as well. I mean, a little bit of context to your answer lies, and the context being is that if people are not induced to the STEM thinking process, if kids are not integrated, if STEM is not integrated within their everyday daily lives or daily thinking thought process, it becomes problematic, because the thought process and everything that the way you function, you become very linear and you become very oblivious to it. It's just memorizing, or it's just just one very straightforward way of doing, maybe just learning for exams and question papers and trying to match that and answers and whatnot. That's why I think that induction of STEM is so important, and like Johanna said, at a very young age, because then children learn to think. I keep on saying the word critical thinking, problem solving and all that, but even when we use those jargons, we really don't understand that the more deeper the reasons behind it. Critical thinking is so important because not everything in life is going to match your exam questions do. So, and that's very important for people to understand, especially in Bangladesh, because I look at my cousins, I look at my cousins' children, and at this point, I think it's very, very problematic, because the way that they're being like taught to think is not I think acceptable when they're somewhere else or when they're with people outside of their community, because they're slower. So I think the way in which we can actually induce that thought process is to basically, firstly, just take the initiative to point out everything STEM around us. Because the way I think, especially at office or anywhere I go, is that even when I'm looking at the dumbest thing, even when I'm looking at this like cup, for example, I'm thinking everything that can, like every science that can be behind it, like how is the cup being made, how is it being molded, how is it being like put into a like state that it is. As STEM practitioners right now, I think it's our responsibility that we do it. And one of the ways that we can communicate STEM is through just, different sources, like different modes of communication. It can be something as simple as reading a newspaper or the science section of the newspaper, if there is any. If it's not the newspaper, maybe a magazine. If it's not a magazine, maybe some kind of a paper, or maybe some kind of a very interesting topic or a very interesting article. And I'm talking strictly like the engagement with kids or engagement with the younger crowd, as science practitioners. It can be something as simple as a Facebook post. It can be something as simple as a YouTube video, something that will grab their interest, but also explain and try to keep that curiosity within them, so that they try and understand why it's like whatever is happening, why is it happening. So I think to go and question the why of everything, like why is this cup white and not red, or why is this cup circular and not square, and trying to put a scientific context behind it, is the easiest way to spread STEM around you. I hope that sort of answers your question, but I just talked of one way, and I think it's the simplest way in which people can begin to just talk about STEM or just practice STEM. That's the easiest, simplest way to do it.
Yes, of course. Thank you so much, Bush. Actually, you have pointed out a lot of things which should be like taken under consideration. So, yes, especially it depends on this geological and also the social activities and the mentalities here, because the economy plays a lot of roles. How you will how will be taught, and how can you be more engaged into this kind of education. So from that thing, I actually have a question for Johanna. If you have this chance to explore some of the parts of the world, maybe not physically, but maybe you have read about it or went through some YouTube videos, maybe. So if I ask you, can you distinguish between the culture of education of your country and some of the countries like third world country? Maybe it can be Bangladesh, it can be other South Asian part. So have you ever got the chance to compare the education system?
Well, here in if I understand the question right, you want me to talk a little bit about the Swedish school or education, and for an example, the Bangladeshi education. Is that correct? Did I understand the question?
Well, I was asking if you can, or if you have ever get the chance to compare any education of third world country, maybe Bangladesh, with your country. Have you ever got the chance? I mean, if you have, then I will ask the question. Otherwise, we can move
Okay,
some.
okay. Well, my mom is actually from Malaysia. So
Mhm.
when I went there in 2016, I think, I got to meet her friends' kids, and they were really, really into school. And they were like, I'm going to do this after I'm turning 20. And I was like, oh, you're 8. I don't know what I'm going to do tomorrow. So I think that's kind of is the.
Right. So this is one of the things you have actually pointed out, a very important aspects of this mentality, like during the education, because as I said, some of the time in our society, they may like prepare or design a career for you, right? So that time you may find it very difficult to know what's going on, or you are preparing for something maybe you are not good at enough. I'm not saying people are not good enough, but the thing is maybe you could find something else even better, right? So uh, do you think like that kind of mentality is also happening in western part of the country, maybe from where you are studying right now? Have you ever seen it? Because what I learned from the education system, from the Nobel Prize Museum presentation, they have distinct evaluation process and social development. I mean, like centralized education system. So it's very pretty good actually. I mean, like the Scandinavian education, they are pretty good. And I was like trying to have some local point of view. I mean, some of the locals, for example, you are studying there, you're growing up over there maybe, and you are trying to educate some of the people over there. So people like you, what's your perspective when you know that some of the South Asian countries, they have everything pre-designed, even the I'm not talking about all the countries, maybe some of the parts where they have narrowed down their um, ways of exploration. Maybe the child, maybe they could explore a little bit more to know their strength, right? So what do you think, like how we can emphasize on that exploration? What kind of education system? Maybe I'm not talking like you have to give me an education system or something. Maybe some of your thoughts, how our society can think the power of exploration, how this exposure can give us more idea about ourselves, about the students, so that what can they choose for themselves, not only helping them but also helping the family or the society, right?
Well, I think that if you get to choose what you are going to do with your life, with what you're going to work with, what you are going to study, or what you want to do in life, that makes you. If you get the chance to choose, then you get to feel a lot better. You know, the psychology. Um, if I didn't have to choose what I wanted to work with, then I wouldn't be happy. I think that's the thing. It's motivating to work with things that you are actually having fun with. So for me, for an example, I love to see people, the happy faces when they understand things, or when I teach people about the environment, or about the STEM education. So that makes me happy, and that's why I'm motivated to do my work. I don't think that I would be good at my work if I didn't. I don't think I would be doing great at my work if I didn't think it was fun.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, this is the thing. So from from what I understand, because the Western people, I mean, like what I'm not trying to put a line here, but Western, that means from our side, and we're in this part of the world. That's why it's a time zone, right? If we put it that way. But the thing, what I'm trying to say is, when you're saying this, is absolutely makes sense. And I wish we all could have this idea, including our parents and the previous generation, the present generation, everyone, because it's very important to know the importance of this matter, so that you can actually support the younger people with this. Now I'm actually going to Bushra, because you understand this perspective. Somehow we know this, but from our social and economical perspective in our country, you have to earn some time, right? And you need to check your passion with the opportunity of earning. So, and also the availability of the things you're trying to do. And if that's actually acceptable in a financial point of view, right? So, Bushra, can you touch on that a little bit?
Right. It's a very relatable question because initially, when I started out with my work, it was very difficult for me to even explain to people what exactly the term entrepreneurship was, because that's what I was doing. Everyone around me were like, "Oh, you need to do this," and like I said, it was a very straightforward direction, but I went into a completely different direction. So um, it was very different for me, but thank God for me, because my parents are so supportive. I think at one point I could explain it to them that, yeah, this is a legitimate source of work, and what I'm doing is impactful because I'm using my learnings and my knowledge to actually like build something, make something, and involve the community around it. But that took a good few years. I'm not gonna lie to you. But in terms of, I think, just um, dealing with people in general, I started at my third year of IUB. So when I was talking to faculties and they were like, you can, okay, sorry, I don't want this to get very personal from there, but yeah, when I was initially talking to my supervisor and like faculties and everyone in class, they were like, okay, maybe you can, and I was previously, when I was confused, maybe career wise. And there were a lot of very good suggestions, but when I didn't take them, for me, it was also very difficult because I had to give myself the confidence and I had to give myself the strength and courage to, really go through with this, because not everyone can. And there were definitely moments when I thought that, okay, maybe this is not a very feasible way to go on about career wise and make money. But yeah, that's just a thing of the past right now, because at the end of the day, I think, if you're really dedicated to something, it turns into something positive, and it really does take shape. So I've been just really lucky like that. I know many friends and many colleagues who haven't had such luck, because I think to involve community and to take initiative on your own, it takes up a lot of your time, it takes up a lot of your resources, and it takes up I think it just becomes at one point very heavy on your pocket, because you have to, if you're communicating STEM, if you're doing something, you really have to, in order to make people believe, you really have to spend some time, energy, and money on it. So everything it's just a combination of everything, and you really have to learn how to balance it. And there are a lot more opportunities right now, as opposed to when I started. So I think that people going ahead with science communication, or just any type of community work, there will be a much greater support right now, as compared to even a few years ago, because we all know the situation in Bangladesh right now. Employment is very difficult, and it's really commendable for people who are letting go of that dependency and taking things, taking matter into their own hands. That, I studied microbiology, I'm going to do something about it, instead of having to just put in my application into a lab. Maybe ICDDRB and IETC are like, how many people are even hiring? And I'm one of the thousands and thousands of people who are there. But yeah, maybe I don't need to depend on it. Maybe I give myself a couple of years, try to do some fundraising, try to do some like some public exposure thing, and just public attendance, public networking thing, and just see where that goes. Because if you do that, at the end of the tunnel there's a is really bright and really promising, even in Bangladesh right now. So I think, in terms of support materials, in terms of availability of positions, no one should really depend on any of those places. If you feel like you're good with something, microbiology or biotech should not just be, just one direction where, okay, I studied it, I should go to a lab. No, you can be a science communicator, you could be a public speaker, you could be a writer who just does, maybe, I'm just speaking off the bat, maybe just writes about science fiction if you're good at writing. So use that, you really have to use that education and really dig deep with the skills that you have, and try to understand, okay, I have this education, now what am I good at? If you're good at public speaking, do it. Talk about everything you've learned in class. If you're good at writing, write about it. If you're good at, I don't know, like graphics, make photos or make illustrations out of it. There's a lot of avenues right now that you can. And I always think, monetary wise, financially, whether it makes sense in your life or not, maybe 2 years, 3 years down the line, you're not regretting it. So if you think and you give yourself the time and, discover whether it's, monetarily feasible for you, go right ahead. There's absolutely nothing wrong with it. I think I got very, very distracted by your question from there, but yeah, I'll be able to. I'm more than open to sort of bring myself back into the topic.
No, it's fine. It's totally fine because this kind of panel discussion is not entirely a formal one. We can go, I think, like in the beginning, we say we will find some of the avenues to talk about, right? So I think I really liking it where it is going because Johanna, I think you heard a little bit struggle here because countries with this kind of economy, especially if we're talking about our country, there are like certain different social setup, especially for education. And most of the time, people tend to choose that kind of education field that will give you more jobs opportunity or this kind of things. So if someone is seeing that physics, for example, and mathematics is not having a direct job, right? So they may think, okay, why don't I get just business or something like engineering that may give me a better job? But somehow a student, when they start, and they will find out in the way that, okay, maybe this is not the right subject for me. I myself, I have changed a couple of subjects. I mean, like after my undergrad, sorry, not the undergrad, I mean the high school. I actually started undergrad with one subject. It was an architecture. I mean, I'm not going to go to that, but like I shifted from like 3 or 4 departments, and then like I chose my subject that we are studying right now. But it didn't mean that I had to abandon all the other things. So from that point of view, maybe I was privileged enough to get the chance. But many of the students in our country, they actually don't get the chance to shift. So I mean, that's why we're trying to acknowledge the fact that, okay, if you're good at something and if it is decent enough to give you an opportunity to earn, I think that's a good combination. Because sometimes if the passion is completely a passion and a hobby, but you can't invest any time on it because the like financials and social point of views, but at the same time, you may have something that's really giving you a good earning, but you don't like it. It can happen, and it's happening in many places of the world. So we are actually going to the social and economical points from now, but we may stick back to the STEM education because this social point is very much relevant. Why? When it comes to the earning, now it comes to the gender. I was not trying to touch this matter, but still I have to touch it because this is women in STEM. And I have really no idea how much you know about the discrimination matters here. So I may try to acknowledge some of the facts that actually this country is trying to focus on women empowerment. That's a very good thing. So of course, without women empowerment, there are like certain things we cannot do because public participation and participation in the important matters with women and men together it will strengthen the whole matters and whole progress of the nation, right? So from that point of view, we are actually trying to empower women with science education, STEM basically. STEM is very good tool, or I can say it's a very good weapon to shape your future, because all the things we are having right now, all the things we are having, not only this technology, but also our medication, our food, agriculture, somehow connected to science. Because our last 2 speakers in the session speaker, they were actually working on, some of them working on medical biophysics, and some of them were working on molecular biology of agriculture. So think, in our life, we actually need to have food, right? Food, environment, and medication, and all the other facilities and all the other luxuries, they can come later. That's why maybe I can go without app, any Netflix, Uber, this kind of stuff, but I cannot go without agriculture, or I cannot go without medication. So now I got, and also all of those, how can you get this? You need education for that, right? Skill-based education to work on it. So I think it's pretty connected. All of you, especially the educator like you you guys are actually giving the people, the next generation, that what they need to be involved into and what they need to learn, because from there you will have all the people who will be working on agriculture, science, maybe medication, and also not only that, also your finance, every other aspects of your life, technology. So if we are teaching, but we are just teaching for the sake of teaching, how things can be downgraded if you're not putting motivation, or if you're not putting passion, or if you're not putting the acceptance, if you cannot increase the acceptability of the students. So how important it is to make yourself very influential as a teacher. So that's my question to Johanna, that as a science educator, do you think more than science, more than technical part of it, do you think um, this matter of being influential is important? I think you have to unmute yourself. So it's all right. I mean, Joanna can like work on her mic right now. So Bushra, can you take the question?
Sure. I think you asked about whether being an influential teacher matters or not. Am I correct?
Yes, of course. I mean, do you think this is same important as being a teacher from the technical point of view, or you think influence is also a very important aspect of it?
Uh, of course, because at the end of the day, I think if you do not have that pull and that influence on your students as a teacher or as an educator, um, it will prevent students from falling in love with the same like cause, for example STEM right now. So if you're an engineering teacher and your students are coming to engineering for you, that means you've done something right. If you're a math teacher, math educator, and you have more people coming into the math field for you, that's your win. So if you're a life science or a chemistry or any kind of like any teacher, in fact, that involves STEM. So I think as teachers and educators, it's like they have the biggest responsibility to pull students and to pull people into this field. Otherwise, and like I said, and it's our responsibility to make it seem interesting. And I say it like that because sometimes the technique from the because of the technicality of it, it might seem that it's not interesting. But then I think it's our responsibility, you, me, Joanna, as teachers, as educators, to make it, to have that culpability, and like make it, just for the lack of a better word, fun, and to make it interesting, and to make it amazing, to make it seem amazing to people and students who are coming into this, so that going down the line in a few years, they'll be able to practice it out of love and out of a self responsibility to keep the love for STEM alive, into the next, into the next generations as well. Just having to do it out of for the sake of doing it, like you said.
Thank you so much, Bushra, for this. So yes, actually, I want to get back to Johanna. Could you unmute yourself? If you can say hi to our audience. Okay, right. So I think you have to rejoin and allow access, right? Okay. So one thing I would like to address to the audience who are watching this. Many of our students, they sometimes ask, what should they do? And mostly the female students, because sometimes the society has a different kind of planning, right? But we need to understand, like, half of the population is women, and the next generation students or female students especially, if they have the opportunity to work with STEM more and more, I mean, the number is growing thanks to our government, thanks to the recent system, and more participation of female students in our education. It's a very good sign. But at the same time, we need to know what kind of education have us more benefit, because we need to understand the countries depending on some of the import export ratio, and the more export we have, maybe we can have more foreign currency. And on that note, maybe what we have, what the things we are exporting right now, maybe we can join with some of the STEM based skills, maybe industry, electronics, technology, software, engineering, medication, pharmaceuticals, and there are like a lot of things going on, right? So if we have enough skills, and if we can utilize many of our young population, because we need to know, like, a country like us, since this whole program is kind of like focusing on our country, that's why I'm like bringing Bangladesh more and more. But you need to know, like, a very big population, actually the biggest population part in our country, they're actually young. So we have the young ratio in a number that is like actually bigger than the elderly population. So there's a very good chance, if we can enable them to work on their skill development sectors, maybe we can equip them with some very, very much like future thinking or future proof skills with STEM. And I'm not talking that non-STEM subjects are not important. Of course, those are important, and in some sectors, those are more important than STEM. But still, STEM has some direct impact in our society if we can think or trace back to some of the microsectors, because you may think our certain problem can be solved by this and that, but when you're implementing a solution, maybe you have to work on the engineering behind it. Maybe the solution is designed with technology. So that time, maybe think, okay, if we have more people involved, and since we have a lot of female, I mean, half of our students are female, right? The population is female. So if we have more ratio, more participation, we are actually having an increased number, and we expect that to be more, because other than our areas like cities, there are like other areas where still we need more female to participate. And sometimes female starts as a very good or promising student, and at some point, due to the social situation or the social structure, they might have to stop their working on that particular field, or maybe they have some other responsibilities. So we may need to address some of the issues where this responsibility can be distributed like very equally within men and women, so that everyone can have their own time for their career, their life, their social life, their personal life, and everything. And I think educators and the leaders in STEM, and especially the female leaders, doesn't matter they're from STEM or non-STEM, maybe they can be very very important message to all the parents over there, that you should actually consider if your children, especially the female students, they're finding some of the passion with STEM, and also particularly if they're having some sort of passion for their own things, and maybe you can let them do it until it's under the social structure, because you need to think about the opportunity of earning as well. So maybe we need to find out some sweet point between or among all of those things. And here, I think I can add Johanna. Is it still up with your mic? Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Hello.
It's back. Awesome. So I'm I think you have.
Well,
In
actually, I
case,
didn't hear the last thing you said there.
exactly. In case you lost the question, I'll have another question for you. Actually, that is, what would be your suggestion for the people, especially the young girls who are trying to find their passion in STEM, but somehow they're very confused about it. Should they go on with it or not? Do you have any suggestion for them, like any personal level?
Well, I truly believe that you have to believe in yourself and stand up for yourself and do the things that you love and do the things that you are interested in and just go your own way. And I think that's kind of unfair for me to say because I live in a very privileged country in Sweden, and I don't know if I'm the right person to say this, but the self-confidence and just stand up for yourself is so important that I can't push it enough. It really is the thing.
Um, Thank you so much for your insight. Actually, I wanted to ask you another thing. So, the student group you're studying, I'm like studying with or like teaching. I think we can tell ourselves a co-learner instead of a teacher sometime because we learn a lot of things from our students as well, right? So, Johanna, can you talk a little bit about your students group? I mean, the age and what are the things you are trying to make them engaged?
Of course. Well, we have school programs designed for people who are, or kids who are from 6-year-old up to 20 years old. So we want them to be engaged in the STEM community, and so we teach them about we have a thing called Makeverkstad. That is they are building with Lego, and then they are programming, and we want them to be interested in what, just like Bushra said, the to understand why and asking why is it working, why is it like this, why is it so that's what we are working with, and to make them just like I showed you before, this one is the most important thing for me personally, for people to understand that the planet is screaming for help and we need to do things about it. So that's what we are working on, to make them interested, and yeah.
Yeah, of course. So, Bushra, I would like to ask you another question related to that because I know that you are also trying to teach some of the kids as well, right? You have a range of students or student group, target groups. So, was it very difficult for you to teach the privileged kids science or underprivileged kids? Which group you found more difficult to teach?
Oh, privileged for sure. Because and I want to tell this because I work with a group of indigenous girls, almost 50, in Tanfia, and in a remote area like that where people literally have no resources. Sometimes what we do is we test out our kits, the experiment kits that we have with the girls and the boys and all the kids over there. And every time we also do like a control group where we test them out in Dhaka or in Chittagong or somewhere in the city where there are kids who are learning the same thing and trying to do the same thing. And this is a legit experiment that I do every time we launch a kit. And to my surprise, which is not so much as a surprise anymore, is that the Thanchi kids in Bandhawan, they're in a village, absolutely minimal electricity, zero resources. They properly can't even like read English or anything of that sort. They always do a lot better then the kids who are in Dhaka or in Chittagong and have proper formal, like are integrated within the proper education system. I really don't want to get into the reasons why, but it just gives me a lot of hope for people that I work with in underprivileged communities. It's very promising because I know that people or kids who put their mind to it and really want to learn, they can learn, and I just feel very happy to be able to enable that. But that being said, I really don't want to paint the by privileged I mean the children or the kids who are within the formal education system as some kind of a villain where they're lazy or they don't want to learn. No, it's nothing like that. But sometimes I think in order to learn new things, you have to unlearn, because the biggest resistance that I find when I'm directly engaging with kids is that they already know something that might be different than something new that they're learning, and that's kind of opposing, be acting as opposition in their mind, like opposing information in their mind, because sometimes they'll be like, but teacher, or like they'll ask me, this isn't the way we already learned in chemistry, like this is what the atom is and this is what it is, or we already learned in physics that this is what force can do, and this is what like equal and opposite forces or something like that. But then there are always exceptions to science, and there's always something new that you can discover. So it's just a matter of openness for learning STEM, and privileged or not, it's your responsibility to just make it great for either of the communities.
Right. This was very insightful because there are, if we think about our country, because when you were teaching them, our country actually have more than 12 kind of curriculum, right? We have different mediums, different versions, and different things. So even the religious base and stuff. So that's why it's somehow it's really difficult to distinguish between the. It's not about even privilege or underprivileged. It's about how they're, as you said, how they're perceiving some of the things. Sometime you need to see the aspects of the way we're accepting and learning or something, right? So I think we are still going around for the perfect education system because I was like, when I went to Stockholm, and I learned about this education system, and we went to school visits and different institutions. So Johanna, so I might ask you this one. You can choose not to answer this. That is, do you think there is any improvement can be done in Swedish institutional systems, like in your education system, or you are very happy with that?
Well, actually, I'm very grateful to the Swedish school system, because when you are 14, you get to choose what you're going to read about in 3 years, and after 3 years, you can choose to study, or you can do like me. You can work. And if I want to study in about 20 years, when I'm 30 or when I'm 40 or 50 or actually 60, there's no limit. There's no limit. It's just based on how many points I got because of my grades, and they will come with me. But I always have the chance to study if I want to. Now I chose not to, but I can whenever I want, whatever I want. So I think it's good. Yeah, I'm very happy for it.
This is really great to hear. I hope one day the world, they will find out something to have, like humanity-based education. It's not about science. It's not about non-STEM or anything. It's for the humanity, right? And we can do whatever it takes for the humanity. Because, yeah, we are going through a lot of things in the world. We have hunger, we have pandemics, we have war, right? And I think if some of the people who are working on STEM or this kind of areas, we maybe have some sort of reward system, maybe imaginative or something. How can we get rid of this undesired situation where we can be more positive, where we can be more into each other, and we respect people's, or even every single thing. It can be a particle, it can be a bacteria, it can be just a matter, it can be just a plant object. But again, we have to respect all of those. If we have the respect for everything, everyone, you never know. Maybe we have this idea of our life form in this way, and we're telling certain matters they are not life, they're non-living. But we never know. Maybe there are kind of quantum level of instinct in that as well. Maybe after millions of years, they will evolve, right? So we should respect everyone. I think it has been there from all the old sayings that we should respect, and education will unlock your things. So I think you are a teacher, both of you are a teacher, I'm a teacher, and maybe some of the people who are involved in this organizer team, or even the people, many of the people they're watching it, maybe some of you will be teacher institutionally, or maybe not, because you never know. Maybe you will say something to someone and it may impact in a very positive way, and maybe that thing will let that person to impact more than hundreds of lives, right? You never know anything. So from that point of view, I would like to request all of you to not distinguish between gender or any sort of matter, because you never know how can the good things come. And especially, I would like to request to the teachers, maybe we can bring some hope to the humanity, because many of the young minds, they are actually listening to you, right? And I'm really, really grateful to our panel speakers today, because at this young age, they're not only learning, but they are actually trying to disseminate their knowledge, and also they're trying to give hope, and they're trying to show the young minds that, okay, you can do it. And they're actually teaching them how can they, pursue some of their own goals. So I think it's a very novel thing. And I wish I can be like that someday, maybe. So I would like to thank both of you, because we have another session after 4 minutes. And if you have any concluding remarks, any suggestion for our audiences, I would like to go to Johanna first, then Bushra. Okay.
Well, I just want to thank everyone for having me, and I'm really grateful for having the time to speak and have my voice listened to. I just want to remind you about my only advice. It is to believe in yourself. That actually is the only thing that I have to say. Believe in yourself and stand up for yourself. You can do it. Just believe in yourself.
Thank you so much. And Bushra, do you want to add something? But don't go, everyone. We're going to show you something. So yes, Bushra.
First of all, I have, again, thank you for having me. I have huge, massive respect for Promon. I was more than happy to be a part of this panel, especially after I learned that Promon is the one arranging all of this. This is amazing. And I think personally, Promon, you have also been a very big source of inspiration for me from, 2016, 17. So anyone who's in this sort of organizing team, or whoever's watching this video, this guy you can learn a lot from. And furthermore, Joanna's statement is also great. I really don't want to try and say anything from that to lead away from it anymore. You should believe in yourself, and at any point if you feel like you want to get in touch, I'm more than happy to help. And like I say, STEM on. STEM is the not to discriminate or distinguish, but it's I think the future to save the world.
This is amazing. You guys are really inspiring, because many of our students, they try to think what's going on, what should I do? But when they see someone like you, they actually have a little bit strength maybe, and maybe that will allow them to do or take some steps. So that's why I have massive respect for the teachers and the people who are trying, instead of having fun. Of course, fun is very important, but at the same time, they're contributing their time for the society, for the people. I mean, Johanna here, Bushra here, I know, of course, I should say, Johanna, I got to know about you, not very long, but what I learned and what I saw from your page and the websites, I mean, this is amazing. I wish I could have in my childhood that kind of setups. And also Bushra, I know it's very difficult to run the initiatives you have been trying to do in Bangladesh, but still you did it and you have been doing it. And I know when people are doing such kind of things from the young age, and they will go and they'll carry that from a very professional life as well. So thank you so much for everything, for your kind time. And I know I have been bugging you guys, I'm constantly texting and reminding you. And thank you for tolerating us. And I would like to thank our team here. Tanfia is here, and you saw Sneha, and we have 4 or 5 more members. They're not directly connected, but still, the team is amazing. Only a couple of people, they organized the whole thing here. And I did nothing actually. I'm just here and floating around and talking. That's it. So again, Johanna and Bushra, can we take a screenshot right now? Maybe say hi to the screen or something. Thank you so much. I took this shot, and Bushra, you are very funny right now, and it will work. It will work, definitely work. Yeah. So now with that note, I would like to conclude this session here. Thank you so much, Johanna, Bushra again. Maybe we'll arrange something else and we'll invite you guys again, right? Looking forward to having more good news from you, and we are really proud of you guys. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. So thank you so much for watching this. I'm Salman Promon. I'm signing out. Thank you so much.